The rain came down in sheets, painting the windshield in restless streaks as Sarah clutched Adrian's hand tighter. Their rental car crawled along the winding path leading up to Hollowridge Manor, a sprawling Victorian estate nestled at the edge of a forgotten countryside, hemmed in by dying trees and whispering winds. "Looks like something out of a horror movie," she said, only half joking. Adrian chuckled, his voice low. "It's been in my family for 3 generations. Dad hated it, which is why he left. But now that he's gone, it's mine. Ours. Ours." The word rang in her ears. She was no stranger to dreaming big. Raised in a small town with a single mother who worked 2 jobs, Sarah Roy had clawed her way to a good life. Meeting Adrian, handsome, brilliant, wealthy, felt like a prize for surviving everything else. Now, she was about to move into a mansion. Or so she thought. The manor emerged like a phantom through the rain. Dark stone walls, ivy-covered spires, windows like empty eyes. At the center, a tower loomed with a round window at its peak, covered by warped wooden boards. A single crow perched above the main door watching them. Sarah shivered. Inside, the manor was colder than she expected. The musty scent of dust and damp wood clung to everything. The furniture, covered in white sheets, looked like sleeping ghosts. Adrian gave her a brief tour, but she noticed how his tone shifted when they passed the 3rd-floor staircase. "What's up there?" she asked. "Storage," he replied too quickly. "Locked. Dad sealed it years ago. Nothing worth seeing." That night, she unpacked in the master bedroom while Adrian went to fetch firewood. As she laid out her clothes in the massive oak dresser, she noticed something odd, a fine layer of black dust in the bottom drawer, and a deep scratch mark, like something had clawed at the wood from the inside. The days that followed were quiet, too quiet. Adrian buried himself in calls with lawyers and estate managers. Sarah explored the manor, trying to acclimate, or maybe trying to distract herself from the strange sense of dread that seemed to cling to the walls. She started hearing things. Footsteps when Adrian was out, whispers at night, a soft humming, a lullaby, playing in the distance, never quite close enough to trace. On the 4th day, while she was cleaning near the old nursery, her foot caught on a warped floorboard. Curious, she pried it open and discovered a small cloth-wrapped bundle inside the hollow space. Inside, a leather-bound diary, yellowed with age. Written on the first page in looping handwriting, "Property of Eleanor Hayes. If found, please return. If you're reading this, then maybe you'll believe me." Sarah's heart froze. Eleanor, Adrian's ex-fiancée. The woman he said died in a car accident 3 years ago. She hesitated, then began to read. The entries began innocently enough. Sweet notes about Adrian, plans for their wedding, dreams about their future together. But as the pages went on, the tone shifted. "He's different here, not like before. The manor changes him. I heard something in the walls. A heartbeat? He says I'm imagining things, but the woman in the mirror isn't me anymore. Last night, the door opened. I didn't open it. Adrian was asleep. I think he's trying to drive me insane, or worse. If you're reading this, I never left. He lied. They all lie." The final page was ripped and splattered with something dark. Sarah dropped the diary, her fingers trembling. She sat in stunned silence, her mind racing. Eleanor never left? Was it paranoia, or was she telling the truth? That night she tried to confront Adrian, but he brushed her off. "You're getting caught up in the house's history. Don't let it mess with your head." The door to the 3rd floor called to her like a siren. It was a heavy iron thing with a padlock. She tried it several times, but it never budged. So she waited. On the 7th night, Adrian took a sleeping pill. After he was fully out, she snuck downstairs, found the set of keys in his coat pocket, and climbed the narrow staircase. The lock opened with a groan. The hallway beyond was narrow and dust-choked. Wallpaper peeled like old skin. Cobwebs thick as blankets hung from the ceiling. There were 4 rooms, 3 were empty. The 4th wasn't. It was a bedroom, preserved in eerie stillness. Clothes still hung in the wardrobe. A makeup table had bottles and lipsticks arranged as if waiting to be used. On the bed lay a dress, a wedding dress. And beside it, inside a cracked jewelry box, was an engagement ring. Blood-stained. Only this one had initials carved on the inside. Sarah barely slept that night. The discovery of Eleanor's ring, with blood, with initials, with history, kept replaying in her mind like a fever dream. But what haunted her more was the calmness in Adrian's voice when he denied everything. The next morning, she returned to the third floor, this time armed with a flashlight and courage fueled by suspicion. Behind the wardrobe in Eleanor's room, she found something peculiar. Faint scuff marks on the wooden floor and a breeze where no window should have been. She pushed the heavy wardrobe aside, revealing a hidden seam in the wall. It took her 10 minutes and a flathead screwdriver, but she pried open a disguised panel. Behind it, a narrow stairwell spiraling downward. It smelled of mildew, old blood, and something deeper. Decay. She descended one careful step at a time. At the bottom, she found herself in a chamber built of stone, far beneath the manor. The walls were covered in old family portraits, Blackwell ancestors, all staring with dead eyes. In the center of the room, a pedestal. On it, a black leather book sealed with wax and an envelope addressed, "To my heir. If you've found this, you're already in danger." She opened the envelope. Inside was a letter written in shaky cursive. "The curse is real. It began with blood, and it demands blood to continue. My father sacrificed my mother for wealth. I swore I wouldn't continue it, but then I met her, and I needed more. The manor chooses who lives and who dies. It feeds on secrets, lies, and greed. If you marry into the family, you are part of the game. Run, or bleed." No signature, just the same initials again, E.H. Sarah sat in the cold silence of the third-floor room, the bloody ring still in her palm. The engagement ring Adrian had given her was supposedly custom-made, unique, only one of its kind. But this ring was older, scratched, dulled, worn down, yet unmistakably the same. And the initials carved inside told her everything she needed to know. E.H. Eleanor Hayes. Her breath hitched as she slid the ring into her coat pocket. Downstairs, Adrian was still asleep. She stared at him for a long time, wondering how much he truly knew, wondering if she was sleeping next to a liar, or something worse. The next day, Adrian acted like everything was normal. He made her coffee, kissed her neck, complimented her robe, but when she brought up Eleanor again, his tone shifted. "She died, Sarah. Don't romanticize it. She was unstable. The crash wasn't an accident." "Then why is her room still intact?" Sarah asked. Adrian paused. "Because I couldn't bring myself to pack it, okay? Is that what you wanted to hear?" She didn't respond. That evening, while Adrian was out taking a call in the garden, Sarah returned to the third floor. She went through Eleanor's drawers, her books, even her old jewelry box. In the back of a photo album, she found it. A single Polaroid, dated just 1 month ago. In the image, Eleanor, standing in front of a gas station, alive. Sarah's blood ran cold. Sarah's hands trembled as she replaced the letter and backed away. Her mind reeled. If this was real, Adrian was not just dangerous, he was part of something ancient, something hungry. She turned to leave, but the air turned cold. Freezing. She saw her breath mist in front of her. Her flashlight flickered, then went out. A whisper echoed through the stone room. "You read it, didn't you?" A silhouette emerged from the dark. A woman, pale, dripping with black water, her dress torn, her lips trembling. It was Eleanor, but not alive. Sarah froze. What are you?" "I told him I wouldn't keep the secret, so he locked me in the dark, buried me under this house. Now I watch, I whisper, I wait." Sarah backed away. "I don't want any part of this." "Too late," Eleanor said, voice like ice. "He gave you the ring. That makes you his. Now you have to choose, run or finish what I started." With that, Eleanor vanished. and the room's only exit slammed shut behind Sarah with a bone-shaking bang. The photo didn't make sense. The date on the back, in Eleanor's handwriting, read May 3rd. Today was June 7th. How was that possible? Had Adrian lied? Was she being gaslit? Or was something worse at play? The more Sarah uncovered, the more questions surfaced. She returned to the diary and flipped past the last entry. Taped inside the back cover was a folded piece of paper. On it, a single sentence written in smeared ink. He killed for the inheritance once, he will again, don't be next. That night, Sarah pretended to be asleep as Adrian showered. She snuck into his office, cracked the password on his laptop using Eleanor's birth date, and found something shocking, a deleted email thread from an anonymous account. Subject line: I know what you did to her. The sender had written, you thought no one would find out, but she's not dead. And if you want to keep that trust fund, you better play nice. I want what she wanted, half the inheritance, or I go public. Sarah took a photo of the screen. Who was blackmailing him? Was Eleanor alive and extorting him herself? Or was there a third player? She went to bed that night, her body curled away from Adrian's. She no longer trusted him, but she wasn't ready to leave either. Because she had a plan now, a dangerous one. As the days passed, the manor itself seemed to turn on her. Lights flickered, mirrors warped her reflection, and at night she started waking up with scratches on her legs. Deep ones, as though something had crawled under the blankets. One morning, she found a note under her pillow, handwritten in the same cursive as Eleanor's diary. You're getting close, that's good. But he sees everything even when he sleeps. She showed it to Adrian. He blamed her stress, suggested she take a break, visit her sister for a while. But when she called her sister's number, the line didn't connect. That same day, all the mirrors in the house shattered at once. Sarah screamed. Adrian claimed it was a pressure shift. She didn't buy it. She called the local police. The dispatcher paused when she gave the address. Hollowridge? Yes. Another pause. Ma'am, if this is a prank, don't. We don't send officers out there unless there's blood on the ground. Then the line cut out. It happened 3 nights later. Sarah was alone in the library reading the last of Eleanor's diary pages when she heard something fall in the hallway, something heavy. She crept out, heart pounding, clutching the fireplace poker. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Slow. Wet. She turned the corner and saw her. A woman soaked from the rain, her dress torn, her face bruised and pale. Her eyes, once bright in the Polaroid, were now hollow and sunken. Eleanor? Sarah whispered. The woman looked up, smiled, but not kindly. I told you I never left. Sarah froze. How? Are you alive? What? I need you to listen carefully, Eleanor said, because if you don't play this right, you'll be dead by morning. Sarah backed up. Is this a trick? Did you fake your death? No, Eleanor said bitterly. He tried to kill me. He buried me under the house. I survived. Sarah's voice trembled. That's not possible. You would have. I lived in the tunnels, for months, eating rats, watching. I saw the others too. I'm not the first fiancé. There were 3 before me. Sarah's eyes widened. You need to leave, Eleanor whispered. But if you're greedy like him, stay. Just know. This house feeds on it. And with that, she vanished back into the shadows. Sarah didn't sleep that night. She lay next to Adrian, wide-eyed, listening to his breathing. Eleanor was alive, or she was a ghost, or both. The next morning, Sarah went into the bathroom and screamed. The bathtub was filled to the brim with blood. Adrian rushed in. What the hell? Sarah pointed. You did this. This is some kind of sick game? He stared, baffled. But when he looked into the tub, it was empty, bone dry. He turned to her slowly. There's nothing there, Sarah. She backed away. No, it was full. I saw it. It was blood. You're losing your mind, he said gently. Too gently. Like Eleanor? She hissed. Something changed in his eyes then, not surprise, not guilt. Fear. She saw it for the first time. He was scared, but not of her, of what she might discover next. Sarah ran to Eleanor's room again. She tore up the floorboards, searching for anything she missed. She found a second diary, newer, stitched in black leather. Inside it, a list. Names: Veronica Hartley, Joanne Vickers, Emily Black, Eleanor Hayes, Sarah Roy. Her own name was the last one. Each name had a symbol next to it. All but hers had a red X. The morning after seeing the blood-filled bathtub, or hallucinating it, Sarah packed a bag. Not to leave, but to investigate. She needed to know what she was up against. Adrian was hiding something. Eleanor had warned her. And the manor? It was more alive than stone, and wood should ever be. Sarah drove to Hollowridge's library, the only public building that didn't look like it was from another century. The town's energy felt wrong, like the people were holding their breath, watching her. Even the librarian tensed when she asked, "Do you have anything on the Blackwell family? History? Newspaper archives, anything?" The woman's eyes darkened. "That name doesn't belong to this town. Not anymore. I'm engaged to Adrian Blackwell." The librarian paused, then stood, walked into the back, and returned with a cardboard box labeled, "Local Tragedies, Restricted." "Whatever you find," she whispered, "leave it behind." Sarah spent the next 5 hours flipping through yellowed clippings, diaries, and a leather-bound town record. The pattern was unmistakable. Tragedy followed the Blackwells. In 1892, Elias Blackwell inherited Hollowridge Manor. His wife was found drowned in the well, declared suicide. In 1914, his granddaughter married a schoolteacher. 1 week later, the school mysteriously burned down. No survivors. She vanished 2 months later. In 1947, Gregory Blackwell married a woman named Charlotte. She disappeared on their honeymoon. Body never found. Gregory's estate value tripled by year's end. In 1989, Gregory's grandson, Adrian's father, was accused of domestic abuse and embezzlement. His wife fled town with their infant son and was later found dead in the woods. Infant missing. Case unsolved. Sarah stared at the photo from the last article. It was Adrian's mother. And the baby? The caption read, "Missing, Adrian Elias Blackwell, age 1. Declared dead, body never recovered." Sarah dropped the paper. Adrian was supposed to be dead. Sarah returned from the library in a daze. Her hands were shaking as she unlocked the front door of Hollowridge Manor. Every creak of the floor felt like a warning. Adrian met her at the door, sipping wine, too calm. "Where were you?" he asked. "I was worried." She looked him dead in the eye. "Your mother. She died when you were a baby, but you died too. At least that's what the official report said." Adrian froze. "You were 1 year old. They found her body, but not yours. The papers said you vanished." He stared at her in silence, the smile slowly draining from his face. Finally he spoke. "She tried to take me away. She knew what the family was, what the manor was. But you can't just walk away from blood, Sarah. Not this bloodline. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want to lose you. You're the first person who hasn't run." She took a step back. "What happened to your other fiancés, Adrian?" He didn't answer. Instead, he said softly, "It's not the house that chooses who dies, Sarah, it's the inheritance. You don't get money this old without burying a few bodies." She slapped him. "You lied about Eleanor. She wasn't right in the head. She's alive." Adrian blinked. "No, she's not. I saw her. In the tunnels. She's not just alive, she's watching." A pause, then something flickered in his eyes. Not fear. Recognition. "You went down there?" he whispered. "You know about the chamber?" "There's more than one," he said grimly. "The manor isn't built on land. It's built on something deeper, older. And once you go below, you start to change." Sarah turned and stormed away, but Adrian called after her. "Don't open the second door in the cellar. Whatever you do, don't open it." Sarah didn't sleep. Adrian had told her not to open the second door in the cellar. But the problem was, he never told her where it was, which meant he knew she'd find it eventually. By morning, the rain had turned Hollowridge into a foggy graveyard. Mist rolled in from the woods like a slow, suffocating breath. Sarah waited until Adrian left, said he was driving to the lawyer's office to prepare the wedding papers. She didn't care. She was going below. The cellar was a stone labyrinth beneath the manor. The main door was behind the old wine racks, hidden beneath a hinged floor panel. A staircase wound down into pitch blackness. The deeper Sarah went, the colder it became. Her flashlight flickered, sputtering against damp stone walls carved with strange symbols, vines, serpents, coins, skulls. Then she saw it. A rusted iron door, half buried behind a crumbling barrel. A black 2 was carved into it. She pressed her ear to it, nothing. Then a whisper. "Sarah." She froze. "Don't." The voice was feminine, hoarse, familiar. "Eleanor?" Sarah whispered. No answer, just a deep, rhythmic breathing sound. Coming from behind the door, Sarah hesitated, but the latch gave easily. The second door opened inward with a gasp, as if the chamber had lungs. The air was heavy, not stale, but alive, breathing, pulsing. She stepped in. The chamber was round, made of dark stone veined with red. In the center was an altar, old, cracked, covered in symbols, and blood. Fresh blood. But it wasn't the altar that made Sarah scream. It was the figure chained to the far wall. A woman, pale, skin bruised and torn, hair once golden, now matted with rot. Her eyes fluttered open. "Help, me." Sarah ran to her. "Who are you?" The woman gasped. Emily Black. I was supposed to marry him. 2019. He said the house needed a bride." Sarah's throat clenched. This woman was one of the names in Eleanor's diary. "Why didn't you run?" "I tried," she whispered. "The house closed on me." Suddenly the door slammed behind Sarah. She ran back, but it was locked. From the outside, Emily started convulsing. Her body arched unnaturally. Her eyes rolled back. And then, she laughed, but not like a woman, like something else. "He always brings them here," she rasped in a voice no longer her own. "Pretty girls with greedy hearts. Do you want to know the truth, Sarah?" Sarah backed away. "What the hell are you? The house lives. It chooses. Adrian is its vessel. But it was his great-grandfather who made the first pact. One life for wealth, one bride for immortality. The longer the bloodline continues, the more powerful the house becomes." Sarah felt her knees weaken. "Why me?" "Because you didn't run. You stayed. You wanted it." Emily's eyes flared red for a second, and then she collapsed, limp and still. The chamber fell silent. Sarah turned back to the door. She pounded on it, screamed. But Hollowridge didn't care. The house had made its choice, and the inheritance had begun feeding. Sarah lost track of time inside the breathing stone chamber. Her flashlight died. The walls pulsed. And Emily, the woman who had once been real, now hung silent and cold. Her body slumped unnaturally. Sarah banged her fists against the door until her knuckles split. She screamed, "Nothing," until, click. The door creaked open as if responding to her desperation. But no one was there. Just fog creeping in from the stairwell. She bolted. Sarah didn't stop running until she was back on the first floor. Her hands were covered in someone else's blood. Her mind raced. Emily was supposed to be dead, but she'd been kept, half alive, inside a ritual chamber beneath the house. Something darker than death clung to that place. It wasn't just symbolic sacrifice. The manor fed on living souls. It stored them. She knew now, the wedding wasn't a celebration. It was a transaction. She needed answers no one in town wanted to give. But there was one more place to try. The Hollowridge Masonic Archive. Buried in a small stone church on the edge of town, long abandoned, but rumored to hold forbidden town records. She broke in. Candles still sat in sconces. pews rotten with mildew, and under the altar, a trapdoor. Inside, among ledgers of births and land claims, she found it. The Hollowridge Ledger, 1871 to 2020. Stamped, confidential, legacy accounts, page after page of ritual reports. 1871, Elias Blackwell offered the blood of his wife to wake the stone. 1872, the Blackwell estate value doubled. 1883, a failed offering led to famine, fire. Compensation made via orphan girl. 1914, the pact was renewed. Bride number 3 offered. Names, dates, outcomes, generations of deals. Every time the Blackwells grew in wealth, a bride disappeared. Sarah turned the page. Her name was written. Sarah Margaret Moore, scheduled for binding, November 18, 2025. She dropped the ledger in horror. Then she heard a voice behind her. You finally understand. Sarah turned. There in the doorway, cloaked in black, eyes sharp and sunken, stood Eleanor, alive, but barely. She looked like she'd crawled out of hell. I knew the house would show you, she said. It always does eventually. Sarah staggered toward her. How are you alive? I escaped. I faked my death. I took the ring off and the house let me go. But it marked me. She rolled up her sleeve, burned into her skin, the Blackwell sigil, the same serpentine knot carved into the manor's altar. I've lived in the woods ever since, waiting, watching, praying the next girl would be smarter. Sarah's voice cracked. Why didn't you stop him? You think you're the first woman who asked that? I tried. I told the police. They said I was mad. Adrian controls more than money. He controls people. She stepped forward. But you, Sarah, you found the second door. That means the house likes you, which means you have power. What do I do? Sarah asked, her voice shaking. You don't run. You destroy the heart. Eleanor explained the only way to sever the pact. There was a third door, deeper beneath the house than anyone dared go. Inside, the heart room. The altar in that chamber wasn't just symbolic. It held the first blood, the first coin, the first bride's bones. If it was destroyed, the curse could break. But the ritual required 2 people. 1 Blackwell blood, 1 sacrificed blood. Eleanor's eyes locked on Sarah. You wear the ring. The house recognizes you. If you don't go back soon, it will come looking. Sarah swallowed. I'm not ready for this. Eleanor leaned close. You're the only one who's ever been ready. 2 nights later. Sarah stood outside the manor at midnight, Eleanor beside her, both cloaked in black. The air was thick, the wind silent, the manor almost waiting. They entered through the old servants' passage, the one no modern blueprint recorded. It led behind the wine cellars, past the second chamber where Emily had hung, now empty. Sarah didn't look. They descended deeper, beyond where stairs should exist. The walls were damp, the stone twitched as if alive. Eleanor held out a dagger, ancient and silver. You must cut your palm before the final door. Blood opens it, not the ring. Sarah took the blade. Her hand shook, but she did it. Blood dripped onto the third iron door. It groaned open like a mouth yawning in the dark. The chamber was massive. No ceiling, just blackness. The air pulsed with a heartbeat not their own. At the center was a pedestal. On it, a stone basin filled with black liquid. Floating in it was a skull, a woman's, fused with gold coins melted into the bone. The first bride. Don't touch the basin, Eleanor warned. We pour the oil, then burn it. Sarah pulled out the vial Eleanor had given her, sacred oil from the family vault. A counterspell passed through survivors. But just as she stepped forward, Adrian stepped out of the shadows. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were sunken, his skin pale, but he still held himself like a king. I was hoping you'd make it this far, he said. Sarah clenched the vial. You lied to me. I gave you everything. You planned to kill me. No, Adrian said softly. Not kill. Transform. Do you have any idea how rare you are? The house chose you. Not even Eleanor made it this far. Eleanor snarled. Let her go, Adrian. This ends tonight. Adrian sighed. I can't let that happen. My great-grandfather gave up everything for this legacy. We've endured for 150 years. Sacrificed brides, children, blood. You think I'll let it all burn for you? Sarah stared at him. You're already dead, Adrian. You just haven't stopped breathing yet. Adrian lunged. Eleanor tackled him and they crashed into the basin. The black liquid spilled. Coins rattled across the floor. The skull fell and cracked. Sarah grabbed the dagger and slashed the rope tied to Eleanor's waist, freeing her. Adrian rose, gasping, his chest soaked in black blood. You don't understand, he croaked. Without the basin, the house will starve. Sarah threw the oil onto the altar. It hissed. The walls screamed. The manor began to bleed. Adrian howled as the black liquid spread across his skin, burning him alive. You could have had forever, he shrieked. Sarah lit the match and dropped it. Flames roared. The walls cracked. Screams of the others, past brides, failed rituals, half-living ghosts, echoed from every stone. Sarah and Eleanor ran. The stairwell collapsed behind them. The manor's heart was dying, and it was taking everything with it. They reached the top just as the library ceiling gave in. Sarah pushed Eleanor out the front door. They tumbled onto the wet lawn, just as Hollowridge Manor imploded into ash. Gone. At last. 2 weeks later, Sarah sat alone in a motel room on the edge of town. Eleanor had left, gone south free at last. The headlines read, Mysterious Collapse of Historic Manor Still Unexplained. No bodies found. No proof of anything. Just ash. Sarah looked at the Blackwell ring she still wore. It was cracked. Empty. Whatever had once lived in that house was dead. But deep in her chest she sometimes still felt it. A heartbeat. Very faint. Waiting. The last choice. Sarah held up the cracked ring. I came to end this. Edward nodded. Then wear it one last time. She slipped it on. The air in the room shifted. The cottage shuddered, revealing a second hidden manor behind it, covered in vines, sleeping. This one never burned, Edward whispered. There's always another house. Another heir. Why me? She asked. Because you chose to go deeper. You unlocked the second door. That makes you stronger than Adrian. More than a bride. You're the new master. Sarah's heart pounded. She stepped toward him, then plunged the dagger into his chest. Edward gasped. Clever girl. The house screamed. It caught fire on its own. Final inheritance. Sarah didn't run. She stood in the flames as Edward burned, the last of the Blackwell bloodline turning to ash. And for a moment, she felt every soul the house had ever taken, thanking her. She woke up on the grass, alone, coughing soot. The cottage and the manor were gone. Only the ring remained, cracked, dead. She buried it beneath the roots of a tree. 1 year later, Sarah lives in a quiet coastal town now. No screams, no rituals. But every now and then, when the wind is just right, she hears a whisper. You ended the house, but the blood remembers. She smiles and turns away. Because some stories don't need sequels. They just need to be survived. End of final part. The Inheritance of Blood.